Hey guys, tonight we dive into something that feels straight out of a science fiction novel, but within a folklore. Strange reports and tantalizing fragments of history to keep you guessing long after you've closed your eyes. Imagine yourself walking alone through a dense forest, the kind where the trees are so tall they blot out most of the sky. The ground beneath your boots is uneven, damp with moss, and every sound seems swallowed by the vast canopy. As you push aside a curtain of ferns, you stumble upon something peculiar, a yawning crack in the earth, wider than a city street, dropping down into blackness so deep it makes your stomach lurch. There's a pulse of air rising from below, warm, steady, and oddly sweet, like the scent of flowers blooming where no sunlight should ever reach. The cavern's edges seem to ripple faintly with a glow you can't explain, as if the rock itself is alive. Your flashlight beam barely scratches the surface of the abyss. Your mind races. What if this isn't just another cave? What if this is the entrance to a world no human was ever meant to find? You lean closer, the gravel beneath your feet giving a warning crunch. And you probably won't survive this if you're clumsy tonight. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. Are you under a blazing afternoon sun? Or already tucked into bed with midnight knocking at your door? Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You crouch low, the mouth of the earth gaping before you, and your hand grazes the stone wall. It's smooth, too smooth, as if polished by something other than time. A chill settles on your skin despite the warm updraft. You recall that humans have been finding strange entrances like this for centuries. Ancient Greek historians wrote about entire realms beneath the earth, with stories of heroes descending into Hades through caves like Tainaron in the Peloponnese. Were those myths just allegories for death, or did someone long ago stumble into something they couldn't explain? Your breath slows as you dangle a pebble into the opening and let go. It takes 5 full seconds before you hear the faint clatter. That's no ordinary hole. The sheer scale makes you giddy, like standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon at night, unable to see where the cliff face ends. Except this cliff leads inward, not outward. You sit back on your heels, and that's when you notice carvings near the entrance, spirals and jagged lines scratched deep into the stone. They don't look like animal marks. They look deliberate, purposeful, maybe even like a warning. And here's a quirky tidbit for you. In the 1600s, German scholar Athanasius Kircher published one of the earliest maps of a hollow earth, complete with fiery core and channels running through the crust. Historians still argue whether he truly believed this, or if it was just an intellectual curiosity. Either way, the idea refused to die, sneaking into everything from Jules Verne novels to pulp magazines. And here you are, sitting at the lip of a very real hole, wondering if Kircher wasn't so off base after all. The air grows louder the longer you listen, not in volume but in character. It almost sounds rhythmic, like breathing. You glance back at the forest. Should you turn around, forget all this, and call it a night? Your rational brain screams yes. But curiosity is a stubborn companion. It whispers that maybe, just maybe, this is the one chance you'll ever get to see what's hidden under your feet. You adjust your pack, cinch the straps, and tighten the beam of your flashlight. The abyss waits, silent yet alive, like the entrance to a cathedral built not for humans, but for something far older. The mouth of the earth isn't just an opening. It feels like an invitation, and you've already accepted without realizing it. You ease yourself onto the rocky ledge, palms slick with sweat despite the cooling night air. The forest behind you feels impossibly far away already, like a memory dissolving at the edge of a dream. Your flashlight beam flickers over the cavern walls, catching tiny veins of crystal that sparkle like stars. You lower your rope, testing the knot twice, because this is the kind of place where forgetting a knot means you end up as an unsolved mystery. You shift your weight, inhale deeply, and then begin the slow, deliberate descent. The first few meters are uneventful. Just rough rock beneath your boots and the squeak of rope through your harness. But the deeper you go, the more the air changes. It grows warmer, denser, as though the earth itself is exhaling around you. It carries a faint metallic tang, mixed with something sweet, like hot stone sprinkled with honey. You shake your head, muttering under your breath that caves aren't supposed to smell like desserts. You pause to rest on a ledge, pressing your hand to the wall. The stone here is unnervingly smooth, like the worn steps of an ancient temple. You remember reading once about the daring Kuyu, underground city in Turkey, a labyrinth carved by hand, stretching down for miles, complete with stables, wine cellars, and even chapels. Historians still argue whether it was built purely as a hiding place from invaders, or whether it once hosted entire thriving communities who simply preferred life below. Looking at the polished walls now, you wonder if this descent isn't so different. Your rope swings lightly, the darkness beneath you refusing to yield to your flashlight. The echoes here play tricks. A single drip of water sounds like footsteps following you. You mutter a joke to calm your nerves, if anyone's down there. Hope they've got Wi-Fi. Your voice ricochets in 10 different directions before vanishing altogether. After what feels like an hour, but might only be 20 minutes, your boots touch down on soft soil. You crouch, letting your eyes adjust. The cavern has widened into a chamber so tall your light can't find the ceiling. In the far distance, faint glimmers wink like lanterns, though you know you've set no lanterns. The descent is over, but the journey has only grown stranger. You pick your way across the uneven ground. The crunch underfoot changes from loose gravel to something more deliberate. Flat slabs arranged in lines like a forgotten pathway. Your heart races. Pathways mean someone or something walks here. You kneel to inspect one of the slabs. Strange markings curl across it, reminiscent of ancient runes, but not quite any alphabet you know. You run your fingers across the grooves. They feel warm, faintly vibrating, as if echoing some distant machinery. A shiver runs through you. Machines underground? That's the sort of thing fringe researchers love to claim, but never prove. Like those wild theories about mechanical cities buried under Antarctica. Most people roll their eyes, still feeling the faint hum now. You wonder if those ideas are less fantasy and more premature leaks of the truth. Your stomach knots as the air stirs again. It's stronger here, a steady flow that doesn't match the stillness around you. The passage narrows, sloping gently downward, like a ramp carved to usher travelers deeper still. And maybe you should turn back. Your rational brain gives you one last nudge, but curiosity smirks in your ear, whispering, "What's the worst that could happen?" You meet mole people. You chuckle softly at your own joke, but the sound is shaky. With each step downward, the sense of trespass thickens. You're not supposed to be here, yet you keep going. The descent is no longer just a physical act, it's an initiation. Like passing the threshold of some secret society's hall. The mouth of the earth spat you out into mystery. And now gravity itself seems to insist you follow through, somewhere behind you. A pebble tumbles. You freeze, turning your flashlight sharply back the way you came. Nothing, just darkness. Still and heavy, but the hair on your arms rises anyway. You know what you felt, the sense of being watched. You swallow hard, square your shoulders, and continue the descent not by rope anymore, but by the carved ramp pulling you deeper, step by uneasy step. The surface world feels impossibly far away now. The descent isn't just physical anymore. It's spiritual, psychological, maybe even irreversible. Your boots scuff against the carved ramp as you push farther into the dim glow. The walls seem to lean closer, not in the way of tight spaces, but more like an audience leaning forward, curious to see if you'll continue. The beam of your flashlight trembles slightly in your hand, skimming over patches of moss clinging to the stone. Except wait. Moss doesn't usually shine like that. Here it glows faintly green, like bioluminescent paint at an amusement park. You trail your fingers along it, half expecting the stuff to sizzle or sting. But it feels soft, damp, and oddly warm. That warmth is unsettling, and yet the smell grows richer, almost comforting. Then, just as you're adjusting to this strange new normal, you see it. A footprint. You crouch low, heart thumping. The print is fresh, pressed deep into the moist earth along the path. It's human-like, but longer, with a narrow arch and toes that splay wider than yours ever could. You drag your palm alongside it to compare. Whoever left this behind is either unusually tall or just built differently. The logical part of your brain rushes to explain. Maybe spelunkers with odd boots. Maybe erosion. Maybe anything but what your gut screams. But deep down, you know this isn't random. The idea of footprints below ground isn't new. Roman historians recorded tales of tunnels under Cappadocia, claiming soldiers sometimes heard phantom footsteps beneath their garrisons. Historians still argue whether those were real intruders, echoes from below, or just soldiers' paranoia in the dead of night. But staring at this damp impression now, you're forced to wonder, what if those old soldiers were hearing exactly what you're seeing? You push forward, and the air shifts again. It's warmer here, carrying the faintest whiff of smoke, like food roasting on a campfire. Your stomach growls traitorously. A hot meal down here? That's absurd. And yet, the scent is undeniable. You pass a low stone wall, etched with swirling carvings that remind you of crop. Circles concentric loops with small triangles branching outward. You run your hand along one, marveling at how precise it feels. Not the rough chiseling of a desperate miner, but the deliberate hand of artisans. It's the kind of detail that suggests not survival, but culture. Something established and repeated. And culture means people or whatever passes for people down here. Then you hear it, a faint crackle, like twigs snapping in a fire. You flick your light toward the sound, half expecting to find a fellow explorer. Maybe some eccentric who decided to live in caves. But there's nothing, just the ramp bending deeper, beckoning. Your breath hitches. You're too far in now. You can't leave without finding the source. As you creep onward, another mark catches your eye, this one stranger still. A cluster of handprints smeared onto the stone wall in reddish-brown pigment. They're larger than yours, stretched unnaturally long, yet arranged like someone was signaling. We were here. We are here. You swallow hard, your throat suddenly dry. That pigment, it could be clay, or rust, or something less comfortable to imagine. For now, you tell yourself it's clay. Sleepy explorers don't need nightmares before they've even reached the good part. You think back to that bizarre tidbit about the Mayan underworld. Xibalba, supposedly reachable through caves in Guatemala. According to their legends, travelers who entered often never returned. Historians chalk that up to danger, disease, or plain superstition. But what if there was another reason? What if people who stumbled this far down weren't lost, they were claimed? The glow along the walls intensifies as you round a bend. The smell of smoke is sharper now, tinged with herbs, almost like sage. Your pulse quickens. And then, faint in the distance, you hear what sounds like voices. Not loud, not clear, just a low murmur. Rhythmic and deliberate, like chanting carried on the warm current. You stop dead in your tracks. The rational side of you shouts, impossible. Sound doesn't carry like that underground. But here it is, brushing your ears like a whisper. The thought forms slowly, like ice in water. You're not alone. And maybe that's the point of this journey. You didn't just stumble into a geological oddity. You stumbled into somebody's home. The carvings, the prints, the hand marks, the smells, they were all breadcrumbs. And you followed them, step after step, right into the unknown. Your flashlight flickers, once, twice, then steadies again. You chuckle nervously, whispering, great timing. Your voice sounds too loud here, like it might carry to ears you'd rather not disturb. You shift your pack higher on your shoulders and press forward. Each step a negotiation between fear and wonder. The murmur of voices fades into the rhythm of rushing water. At first, you mistake it for wind coursing through the cavern. But the sound swells until there's no mistaking it. A river, hidden deep beneath the stone. You follow the slope downward until the floor levels out. And there it is, an underground current, so broad and powerful it could swallow a city street whole. You stand at the edge, your flashlight beam catching the shimmer of its surface. But this is no ordinary water. The current glows faintly with colors that ripple like oil on pavement, violets, blues, even a flash of gold. The light dances across the cavern ceiling, painting it with shifting constellations. You blink, half convinced you're hallucinating, but the glow is real. The underground river is alive. The air here is damp and cooler, tinged with mineral salt that clings to your tongue. You kneel to touch the water, and it's warmer than expected, almost like a heated bath. Pulling your hand back, you notice a thin layer of glittering sediment clinging to your fingers. It sparkles faintly in the beam. Some strange mineral, or something stranger still. Your mind flashes to real world. History, the subterranean. Aqueducts of ancient Persia, called qanats, that carried water across miles of desert. They were feats of engineering, so advanced some scholars still scratch their heads at how they were maintained. Historians still argue whether those underground rivers were purely utilitarian or whether the ancients attributed a sacred significance to water flowing beneath the earth. Looking at this glowing current now, it's hard not to believe in the sacred. You rise and pace along the bank. The pathway is too smooth to be natural. It hugs the river's edge in a perfect curve, worn down by generations of travel. You wonder who else has walked this path. Their shadows cast against the glowing current, their stories lost in time. And then you catch sight of movement in the water. At first, it's subtle, ripples that don't match the current. Then a pale shape glides just beneath the surface, long and sinuous with fins that trail like ribbons. Its skin is translucent, revealing veins that pulse faintly with the same glow as the river. You stumble back a step, heart hammering. The creature surfaces briefly, exposing eyes the size of coin's eyes that reflect your light with a strange, intelligent gleam. And then it vanishes again, leaving only ripples behind. You laugh nervously, whispering to yourself, Well, at least it wasn't a crocodile. But the joke doesn't ease the tension. If there's one, there are probably more. And who knows how big they can get in a place like this. Free from predators and unseen by human eyes? A quirky tidbit surfaces in your mind. In the 18th century, explorers in Slovenia discovered the a pale, blind salamander that lives entirely in caves. Locals once believed it was the offspring of dragons. And honestly, staring at that glowing shadow now, the dragon theory feels closer to the truth. You press forward along the bank, keeping one wary eye on the current. The river winds into the darkness, its glowing water illuminating carvings on the walls, spirals, waves, and symbols that resemble fish with elongated tails. This isn't just decoration. It feels like reverence. Whoever built this pathway worshipped the river, or perhaps the creatures within it. The current's roar grows louder, and you realize you've reached a fork. To the left, the river disappears into a tunnel low and narrow. To the right, it widens into a great chamber where the glow intensifies, lighting the cavern as if under a twilight sky. You hesitate, torn. The left tunnel whispers of secrets, but the right promises revelation. And then you see it, a faint outline in the distance, a bridge. Not a natural arch of stone, but a constructed span. Its supports carved with intricate patterns. You gasp quietly. A bridge means builders, and builders mean civilization. Your steps quicken despite the thrum of anxiety in your chest. The chanting you thought you heard earlier seems to rise again, blending with the river's roar, threading into your ears like music carried from the other side. The path is leading you somewhere, and like a moth to flame, you can't resist. The bridge looms larger as you draw closer, its silhouette illuminated by the glowing river below. At first glance, it seems impossibly delicate, woven arches of stone that shouldn't still be standing after centuries. Yet when your fingers brush the railing, it's solid, almost humming with a quiet vibration, as though the very rock remembers the hands that shaped it. You step onto the bridge, testing your weight, and the structure barely groans. Halfway across, the glow beneath the water intensifies. You lean over the side, peering down, and that's when you see them. At first, you mistake them for oversized fish, pale and serpentine. But as they near the surface, your breath catches. Their bodies are long, sleek, with translucent skin stretched thin over powerful muscles. Instead of eyes, they bear faint, glowing slits like lanterns guiding them through the dark. Some are small, the length of your arm, but others stretch 10, maybe 12 feet, gliding silently in synchronized patterns. One breaks the surface briefly, its jaw opening to release a high-pitched trill that echoes in the cavern. You freeze, heart pounding. The sound is strange, melodic even. But you can't shake the sense it's also a warning. It's not the first time humans have stumbled on strange life underground. In fact, you recall a historical gem in the 16th century. Spanish explorers in South America wrote about enormous, pale fish living in subterranean rivers beneath the Andes. Most scholars dismissed it as exaggeration, perhaps misidentified catfish. Historians still argue whether those early accounts were fabrications, or if the explorers really glimpsed something hidden. Tonight, you're leaning toward the latter. You whisper under your breath, "Okay, so, Jurassic Park, but underwater." The joke helps you breathe again, though your hands grip the railing a little tighter. Crossing the bridge, you notice faint scratches etched into the stone markings, not from tools, but claws. Something large has walked here repeatedly. The realization prickles the back of your neck. If the river creatures aren't the apex predators down here, what is? As you step onto the far bank, the path leads upward into a smaller chamber. The glow fades here, leaving your flashlight once again to carve through the dark. The silence is oppressive, heavy with possibility. And then movement. From the corner of your eye, you catch a flicker. You whip your light around, and there it is. Not a fish, not a serpent, but something standing on two legs. It's gone in an instant, slipping behind a jagged column of stone. All you saw was pale skin, elongated limbs, and a flash of something reflective eyes. Armor, you're not sure. You stay perfectly still, listening. Nothing but the drip of water, steady as a heartbeat. Still, you can't shake the certainty that you've been spotted, maybe even tracked. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Down here, life has had millions of years to adapt, to grow stranger than anything on the surface, like the eyeless catfish in Texas, which rely entirely on vibrations to navigate, or the giant huntsman spider discovered in Laos caves, with legs spanning nearly a foot. Quirky as those examples are, they remind you, when light disappears, life doesn't stop. It just evolves in directions we surface dwellers can barely imagine. You force yourself onward, deeper into the tunnel. The scent of smoke returns, mingled now with something else herbs, earthy and sharp, like sage or myrrh. It tickles your nose, tugging at some primal instinct. Smoke means fire. Fire means intelligence. The tunnel narrows, and as you squeeze through a crack, the chamber beyond takes your breath away. The ceiling soars high above, dotted with luminous crystals that drip light like chandeliers. Below, the ground is scattered with stone outcroppings carved into purposeful shapes, walls, steps, doorways. Not just formations, architecture. And scattered among them, faintly glowing eyes blink back at you from the shadows. You're not alone. You've wandered straight into the territory of something that's been watching you since you crossed that river. You stand frozen at the threshold, your flashlight beam jittering across the chamber. Those faint eyes don't scatter the way animal eyes usually do. They linger, tracking your every twitch, as if measuring whether you're a threat or just another curiosity. You clear your throat, the sound embarrassingly loud in the hush. Hi. It's ridiculous, but the silence presses you into saying something. Your voice echoes, swallowed by the high crystalline ceiling, and the eyes blink in unison, like a ripple across a pond. Stepping forward, you sweep the beam along the nearest stone structure. What you first mistook for jagged rock is clearly intentional design. Massive blocks stacked into a step pyramid form, though worn with time. Spirals and geometric motifs snake across the surface, carved so deep you can still feel their grooves after centuries or perhaps millennia. You pause to run your hand across one, and warmth greets your fingertips, as if the stone itself remembers the touch of builders long gone. The deeper you move into the chamber, the more the outcroppings reveal themselves as ruins. Some are archways that lead nowhere. Others resemble hollowed towers, their tops lost in darkness. But here's the strangest part. Faint wisps of smoke curl upward from one of them. The smell is stronger now, earthy and pungent. Someone lit a fire recently. You can't help but think of real world. Parallels ancient underground. Architecture humanity actually knows about. The Ajanta caves in India, for example, with entire temples carved directly into the rock. Or the Hypogeum of Malta, a labyrinth of chambers where archaeologists found bones, statues, and a mysterious oracle room with perfect acoustics. Historians still argue whether these places were only ceremonial, or if people once lived inside them permanently. Staring at these ruins, you know one thing for sure. This wasn't ceremonial. This was a city. You inch forward, shining your light over a collapsed arch. There, at its base, lies pottery clay shards scattered like someone dropped them yesterday. The design etched into the fragments is unlike anything you've ever seen. Patterns swirling and intersecting with mathematical precision. You crouch to touch one piece. It's still warm. Your gut flips. A joke slips out of your mouth. Your whisper trembling. Guess the welcome party forgot their cleanup duty. The chuckle dies quickly, though, because the eyes are still there, still watching. Then, for the briefest moment, you see movement. A tall, thin figure slips between two broken columns, its outline eerily graceful. It doesn't flee. It glides, as if deliberately letting you know it's there. You think of those elongated footprints you found earlier. Suddenly, they make perfect sense. Your pulse quickens, but a different part of your brain, your curiosity. That stubborn guide takes over. You scan the chamber again, and this time, the glow of the crystals above reveals details you missed at first. The ruins stretch far, far beyond this chamber, vanishing into a network of corridors and plazas. Some of the structures rise in tiered steps, almost like miniature ziggurats. Others appear half swallowed by the earth, suggesting collapse or abandonment. But there's too much here, too much evidence of deliberate design, for it to be a coincidence of geology. You remember a quirky tidbit in the 1800s. Explorers claimed to have found giant halls beneath Kentucky, carved so neatly they seemed artificial. Most modern geologists chalk it up to erosion, but fringe theorists insist it was proof of a forgotten underground civilization. Tonight, standing in this chamber, you're leaning suspiciously toward the fringe side. A faint sound interrupts your thoughts, a soft, rhythmic thud like drums far away. You tilt your head, straining to hear. It doesn't sound mechanical nor random. It's deliberate, pulsing steadily through the cavern air. The watchers don't move, don't scatter. They simply keep observing you as the drumming grows louder, blending with the ever-present rush of the underground river beyond. You realize then you're not lost. You've been guided. The footprints, the smoke, the markings, they weren't warnings. They were breadcrumbs, pulling you here to this precise spot. The ruins aren't abandoned after all. Somewhere in the dark, one of the eyes blinks slowly. Then another, and another. You swallow hard, adjusting your grip on the flashlight. The architecture looms taller, the silence thicker, the presence heavier. You've stumbled not into a dead city, but into a living one. And you've just announced yourself as its newest guest. You stand there, heart rattling in your chest, as the ruins around you breathe with an unseen energy. Then something shifts, not in the shadows, but above. The crystal-studded ceiling brightens, as though some hidden hand has turned a dimmer switch. At first, you think it's just your flashlight reflecting strangely. But no, the glow is real, spreading in slow waves. And then you see it. The cavern opens wider than your mind can process, like stepping into a second sky, hanging impossibly above you. Far beyond the jagged stone ceiling is a sphere of light, not the harsh white of your flashlight, not the cold glimmer of crystal, but a golden radiance, gentle and steady, like a small sun cradled within the belly of the earth. You blink, mouth dry. Your first instinct is to laugh, because this is the sort of thing people make fun of on late-night radio shows. The hollow earth crowd always claimed there was a hidden sun beneath our feet, warming secret lands. You'd rolled your eyes at the idea 100 times, and yet here it is. Bathing the chamber in twilight glow, the light transforms everything. Where moments ago you saw ruins, now you see a landscape. Rolling fields stretch into the distance, dotted with patches of greenery. A forest shimmers under the golden haze, leaves glinting like polished jade. The air, warmer now, carries a chorus of sounds, distant calls of unseen animals. The whisper of wind that shouldn't exist underground. You mutter under your breath, "Well, guess we don't need solar panels down here." The joke feels paper thin against the enormity of what you're seeing, but it steadies you enough to take a step forward. It reminds you of something very real in 1947. Explorer Richard Byrd supposedly flew over the Arctic and described green land, where there should have been only ice. His diaries, if authentic, spoke of lakes, forests, and even mammoth-like creatures. Historians still argue whether Byrd's notes were genuine records or post-war conspiracy embellishments. Looking at this subterranean landscape now, you wonder if Byrd had glimpsed something the rest of us weren't meant to see. The path ahead slopes downward, leading from the ruins into this sunlit valley. You walk cautiously, your senses overwhelmed. The ground softens underfoot, soil springy with moss. Vines creep along the stones, clinging as though they've always known the embrace of light. Birds or something like them flit across the distance, wings shimmering as if made from gossamer. And yet, not everything feels so idyllic. The air hums with a frequency you can't quite place, a vibration that settles in your bones. It's not loud, not painful, just constant, like standing near a power line. You glance up at the inner sun again. It doesn't burn like our surface sun. It doesn't flare. It simply glows, steady and eternal, a lantern in the hollow sky. How? You have no idea. But you can't shake the feeling that it's not entirely natural. Your thoughts drift back to fringe tidbits you once laughed at, like those theosophical writings about Agartha, a paradise beneath earth, where enlightened beings dwell by the light of an inner flame. Writers claimed the world governments knew, covering it up to keep the surface under control. Silly bedtime reading, you thought. Except tonight, your bedtime story just stood up and waved at you. You crouch near a patch of moss, brushing your hand through the grass like blades. They bend easily, but don't break, elastic and strong. You whisper, better than astroturf. The words hang in the golden air, unanswered. A movement draws your attention. Across the valley, beyond the shimmer of trees, figures emerge. Tall, graceful, they walk upright, silhouetted against the inner sun. You can't make out their faces yet, but you see the length of their limbs, the flowing drape of garments that catch the light like woven silver. They move together, slow and deliberate, as though they've been expecting you all along. Your throat tightens. You've crossed rivers of light, ruins, and silence. And now, at last, you stand beneath a hidden sun, about to meet whoever has been watching since the moment you entered the earth. The figures advance across the valley with a poise that makes you hesitate to even breathe. They're tall, easily 7, maybe 8 feet, and their movements flow like water, each step perfectly measured. The golden light catches their skin, pale with a faint iridescence, as though pearl dust were woven into their flesh. Their hair, long and silken, falls in hues that shimmer between silver and copper, like threads spun from moonlight. You freeze at the base of the slope, torn between bolting back to the ruins and standing your ground. Your heart says run, but your legs betray you they're rooted. Captivated by the sight, when the first of them draws close, you see its eyes. They're large, almond-shaped, glowing faintly with the same hue as the inner sun. Not blinding, but warm, curious, and disconcertingly human. You manage to croak out, "Hi, I come in peace, promise." The words sound absurd in your own ears, like a kid cosplaying First Contact. The being tilts its head, listening. Then, to your shock, it replies not in guttural sounds or strange tones, but in a language hauntingly familiar. The cadence is odd, the syllables stretched and lilting, but you recognize fragments of words. Words from old texts, scraps of ancient tongues you've only seen in history books. Latin, maybe, or something older still. You blink. Did you just? Wait, you understand me? The figure's lips curl faintly. Not quite a smile, not quite a smirk, but something in between. The others fan out, forming a semicircle around you. None carry weapons. None move aggressively. They just watch. It's here that your mind latches onto a quirky tidbit you once read, that the Dogon people of Mali had ancient star maps depicting Sirius and its invisible companion, long before telescopes existed. Some claimed they had teachers from beyond. Historians still argue whether that knowledge was passed through lost observation techniques, or if something stranger occurred. Looking into these luminous eyes now, you wonder if underground teachers might have been a more plausible source. You clear your throat, trying again. I don't mean to intrude. Just exploring? Your voice trembles like a freshman giving a book report. This time, the tallest of them steps closer, extending a hand. Its fingers are long, elegant, tipped with nails that gleam like polished quartz. You hesitate, then slowly reach out. The touch is cool, not icy, and surprisingly soft. A warmth floods through you. But not physical warmth, it's a calm. A stillness that seeps into your nerves. The constant drumbeat of fear quiets in your chest. They speak again, and though you can't parse every word, you catch fragments, traveler. Surface, welcome. The sense is clear enough. You've been noticed. And you're not an enemy, at least not yet. Your brain scrambles for comparisons. They're not aliens. They're not monsters. They're people just. Evolved differently, shaped by millennia in a world lit by an inner sun. Taller, stronger, wiser maybe, but undeniably alive, undeniably sentient, and undeniably curious about you. The group gestures for you to follow. And despite every self-preservation instinct screaming otherwise, you do. They lead you along a stone path that winds deeper into the valley. Your feet crunch softly on the moss, and you glance around, unable to stop marveling. Towers rise in the distance, carved from glowing stone, their spires bending like reeds in a breeze. Bridges arc across ravines, delicate yet enduring. And in the golden haze, you catch glimpses of movement, more figures watching from balconies. Their faces half hidden, their eyes reflecting the inner sun. You mutter a shaky joke to yourself. Guess I'm the new attraction at Hollow Earth Disneyland. No one laughs, of course, but it makes you breathe again. One of the beings glances back at you, its luminous eyes unblinking. You can't tell if it understood the words, but something about its expression suggests amusement. And suddenly, you're struck by the strangest thought. Maybe sarcasm exists everywhere, even here, as the path opens into a wide terrace overlooking the valley. You stop dead in your tracks. Below lies a sprawling city, its streets radiating from a central plaza, where a massive crystalline obelisk pierces upward, reflecting the light of the inner sun. The city hums faintly, not with machinery, but with life, a low vibration of thousands of voices, footsteps and whispers carried on the subterranean air. You've seen the ruins. You've crossed the glowing river. But this is proof beyond doubt. A civilization not dead, not mythical, but alive, thriving, and now aware of you. The terrace spreads wide beneath your boots, offering a view that makes you forget to breathe. Below, the city unfurls like a living tapestry, a place that shouldn't exist yet clearly thrives. Streets curve in perfect spirals, not the rigid grids of surface cities, but patterns that feel organic, like the inside of a seashell. Buildings rise in fluid arcs of stone and crystal, their walls glowing faintly, as though infused with the same inner light that powers the sun above. The tall beings guide you down a series of steps carved directly into the rock. Their gait is silent, graceful, while yours is clumsy in comparison, every scuff and grunt. An intrusion in this otherwise serene world. The further you descend, the more details you see, hanging terraces draped with vines, pools of shimmering water reflecting the golden haze, and bridges that look impossibly delicate but hold weight with ease. Then, as you round a bend, you stumble upon something unexpected. Farms. Not mechanical hydroponics or sterile trays, but rolling. Fields of tall grasses and leafy crops, swaying gently under the inner sun. Figures work there, their movements calm and methodical. Some carry tools unlike any you've ever seen, long rods that glow faintly at the tips, humming softly as they brush across the soil. Wherever they pass, sprouts emerge, growing inches in seconds, like the earth itself has been coaxed awake. You mutter under your breath, "Great. Even underground, they have better gardening skills than me." The joke floats away on the warm air unheard, but it steadies you. A quirky tidbit flickers into your mind. The Inca terrace is high in the Andes. Engineered with such precision, they could grow crops at impossible altitudes. Historians still argue whether those techniques were discovered independently or passed down from a much older, lost knowledge. Looking at these subterranean farms now, you wonder if maybe that knowledge didn't just vanish, it moved underground. The beings notice your awe but say nothing. Instead, they gesture for you to continue. You pass orchards where glowing fruits hang like lanterns, their skins translucent enough to reveal pulsing light within. You reach out to touch one, but a nearby worker shakes their head gently, a silent warning. Not for outsiders, perhaps. Or maybe too potent for surface dwellers. The air is alive with sound now, not just voices, but songs. Soft, melodic chants rise from the fields, synchronized with the movements of the workers. It isn't casual humming. It feels purposeful, almost like the songs are part of the farming itself. You recall how ancient sailors once sang to coordinate rowing, or how monks chant to resonate with their temple's acoustics. Could sound here actually help the plants grow? You file that away as the group leads you farther, past clusters of dwellings. Each home is shaped like a dome, smooth and seamless, as though grown rather than built. Some glow from within, casting shadows of tall figures moving about inside. You realize with a jolt that you're not just looking at ruins or isolated beings. You're standing in the heart of a civilization that has likely thrived here for countless centuries. A child darts out from one of the domes, tall but smaller than the others, with luminous eyes wide in curiosity. They clutch a toy shaped from crystal, carved into the likeness of a river serpent. When they see you, they giggle a sound surprisingly universal and scamper back inside. You can't help but laugh softly. Well, at least I'm not that scary. It strikes you then how ordinary it feels in a way. Farming, children, songs, tools different in detail, but familiar in essence. Life simply lived. And yet, it's all wrapped in mystery, cloaked under miles of rock, hidden from the surface where wars and storms rage. Endlessly, You pass a market square, if it can be called that. Stalls curve around the plaza, their goods displayed in shimmering baskets. You see fabrics woven from fibers that gleam like spun glass, vessels filled with glowing powders, and carved stones that hum faintly when you draw near. One merchant eyes you curiously, but doesn't move, as if weighing whether you're truly real or just a passing vision. Your guides lead you toward the central obelisk, its surface etched with spiraling symbols. The closer you get, the more you sense it's not just decoration. The stone radiates a pulse, steady and deep, resonating in your chest like a second heartbeat. It feels alive, or at least powered by something far beyond your understanding. You whisper to yourself, Tesla would have had a field day down here. The beings stop, turning toward you with unreadable expressions. They don't speak, not yet. Instead, they let you soak in the enormity of what you've witnessed. Their farms, their homes, their markets all flourishing in secret beneath your world. You've seen enough to know this isn't survival. It's mastery. A civilization that doesn't just scrape by underground, but thrives in ways that put surface humanity to shame. And you can't shake the feeling that they're only showing you the surface layer of their truth. You stand at the base of the crystalline obelisk, its towering surface humming with a rhythm that feels both alien and familiar. The golden light of the inner sun glints off its edges, refracting into a rainbow that dances across the plaza. The tall beings form a loose circle around you, their luminous eyes fixed, patient, as if waiting for you to grasp the significance of what stands before you. You reach out, hesitating, then lay a hand against the cool stone. Instantly, a vibration shoots through your arm, spreading into your chest, then your skull. It isn't painful, but it's disorienting, like being submerged in deep water where sound becomes strange and pressure warps perception. Your knees nearly buckle, and you mutter, "Okay, that's one heck of a power outlet." And then it happens. Images not your own flood your mind. Shapes, fragments, memories that don't belong to you. You see sprawling landscapes bathed in golden light, forests stretching endlessly, and cities much like this one, only larger, brighter, filled with countless beings. You see wars, two flashes of conflict, structures crumbling, rivers of light weaponized against intruders. Then peace again, rebuilding, the obelisk always standing at the center. You stagger back, gasping. The beings don't move to steady you. They just watch, knowing this would happen. One tilts its head and finally speaks. The sound low and melodic, but your mind somehow catches the meaning. Memory. You realize this isn't just a monument. It's an archive, a living record etched not in books or scrolls, but in energy. Anyone who touches it can see echoes of the past. Your mind races to a mainstream fact, the Library of Alexandria, that ancient storehouse of human knowledge, burned and lost. Historians still argue whether it was deliberate destruction or accident. Standing here, you realize these people never needed fragile scrolls. Their history is alive in crystal, impervious to fire or decay. Your guides beckon you to follow them into the plaza proper, where smaller obelisks form a constellation around the central one. Each pulses in rhythm, a symphony of light and sound you can't quite hear but feel deep in your chest. You think of the debates on whether Pythagoras was right about the music of the spheres. Maybe the old mathematician wasn't talking about the stars at all. Maybe he had glimpsed something like this. As you move deeper, you notice groups of citizens gathered around the obelisks, hands resting gently on the stone, eyes closed. Their faces are serene, as if in meditation, but you know now they're not praying. They're remembering, connecting to a collective past the way you might scroll through a photo album. Except here, the past isn't static, it pulses with life. You mutter, "Better than we fi." One of the beings finally approaches and, with a gesture, invites you to do more than observe. They motion toward a smaller obelisk, perhaps less overwhelming than the great spire. You hesitate, your palms clammy, but curiosity burns brighter than fear. Slowly, you place both hands against its surface. This time, the images are clearer. You see vast underground caverns connected by glowing rivers. Entire cities spread across networks deeper than you imagined. You see creatures, some reptilian, some insect-like, kept at bay by barriers of light. You see surface dwellers too, stumbling into these depths across different eras. Roman soldiers, cloaked monks, explorers in brass helmets. Some were welcomed, some were not. Your breath hitches as you recognize one image. A man in a heavy coat, goggles strapped to his head, standing at the edge of this very plaza. His features are worn, but the insignia on his sleeve, an eagle with spread wings, chills you. A soldier, maybe from the Second World War. Historians still argue whether Nazi expeditions to Antarctica were just scientific ventures or something darker. Maybe some of them found their way here. You tear your hands away, trembling. The images fade, but their weight lingers. The beings study you silently, as if judging how much you've absorbed, how much you're ready to carry back. One finally speaks again. The words clear in your head, though strange on the air. We remember. You forget. That is the difference. You swallow hard, unsure how to respond. 100 questions rise in your throat, but only one escapes. Why show me this? The being doesn't answer. Instead, they gesture toward the city beyond, where even greater mysteries wait. The obelisk comes behind you, a heartbeat of history, while ahead stretches the unknown. You take a shaky breath and follow, stepping away from memory into whatever comes next. The obelisk's hum still vibrates, faintly in your bones as you're guided away from the plaza. The city stretches outward in layers, each one more intricate than the last. Your escorts move silently, their tall frames, gliding with such ease it makes. You feel like a toddler, stomping through a cathedral. As you walk, you notice the architecture shift. The outer dwellings were simple domes, but here, closer to the city's heart, the buildings rise like twisting spires, their walls studded with glowing veins that pulse like living arteries. Bridges spiral between them, suspended high above, as though gravity itself is just a polite suggestion down here. It's impossible not to stare. You whisper to yourself, IKEA's gonna have a tough time keeping up with this design. The words echo a little louder than you intended, and one of the beings glances back, head tilted. You can't tell if they're offended or amused. Probably both. At a wide archway, your guides pause. 2 massive doors loom before you, carved from black stone, so polished you can see your reflection, though in this light. You look more like a ghost than a person. Symbols spiral across the doors, glowing faintly as though aware of your presence. The beings press their palms against the stone, and slowly it swings open without a sound. Inside, the chamber is vast and circular, its walls lined with alcoves. Each alcove houses a glowing orb, floating gently in place. The air is thicker here, rich with energy that prickles your skin. You step closer to one of the orbs, drawn in despite yourself. And the moment your eyes lock onto it, visions flicker. Not just images this time, but sounds, textures. Sense you're standing on a battlefield, the air filled with the clash of weapons you can't name. You smell smoke, hear cries, and see towering figures like your escorts driving back. Monstrous shapes that writhe in the dark. Then the vision shifts. You're in a lush garden, golden fruits dripping from trees. Laughter echoing as children chase each other across sunlit meadows. Then another shift, a meeting between robed figures, their hands raised. Symbols glowing in the air as if drawn from light itself. You stumble back, clutching your head. The orb dims, almost as if it knows you've had enough. One of your guides rests a hand on your shoulder, steadying you. Their touch is cool, grounding. It dawns on you, these aren't just archives of history. They're memories carefully preserved, shared across generations. A civilization that never forgets because forgetting, for them, isn't even an option. A mainstream historical fact nudges at your mind, Plato's story of Atlantis. A thriving civilization, advanced and powerful, that vanished beneath the waves. Historians still argue whether it was pure allegory or based on some real memory passed down. Maybe Atlantis didn't vanish. Maybe it simply moved inward, carrying its knowledge where no flood could reach. Your eyes sweep the chamber. Hundreds of orbs glow softly, each a doorway into another lifetime. You wonder how far back they go. Thousands of years? Millions? Could they remember the dinosaurs? Could they remember the very moment the inner sun first ignited? One quirky tidbit bubbles up from your memory. Some fringe theorists claim crystals can store consciousness, like a cosmic hard drive. Silly, you thought then. But standing here, staring at floating spheres of light that hold entire lives, you don't laugh. Not anymore. The beings begin to chant, low and resonant, their voices weaving together like strands of music. The orbs respond, glowing brighter in time with the sound. The whole chamber hums, vibrating in your chest. It feels like you're inside a massive instrument, every wall and every breath tuned to harmony. You whisper, almost reverently, "This is your internet." The nearest being tilts its head, and though it doesn't speak, you catch the faintest hint of amusement in its luminous eyes. You realize they probably understood you, not the word, but the intention behind it. Your guides motion you onward, leading you deeper still. You pass under arches carved with spirals that shift subtly when you're not looking, as if the stone itself reconfigures to confuse outsiders. The air grows warmer, the light more golden, and your nerves buzz with anticipation. You're not just seeing a city anymore. You're peeling back its layers. From farms to markets, from obelisks to memory vaults. Each step brings you closer to the core of their society, and you can't shake the question pressing harder and harder in your mind. If they've lived here for so long, hidden and thriving, what do they want with you? The spiral arches give way to another terrace, this one higher, overlooking an expanse of structures unlike anything you've seen so far. They're colossal, ranged in circles that radiate outward like ripples on water. From above, the layout reminds you of crop circles, only these aren't flattened wheat fields, but monumental complexes glowing faintly in the golden haze. Your guides stop, allowing you to take it in. The city stretches endlessly, yet it's unnervingly quiet. The hum of the obelisks now replaced by something subtler, a resonance in the air, like the faint thrum of a tuning fork you can't unhear. You glance at your escorts. They stand tall, eyes half closed, as if this place itself speaks to them. "Okay," you whisper. "This feels like the VIP tour. Hope I don't need a backstage pass." The tallest of the beings gestures toward a massive stairway carved into the rock. You follow, your legs burning as you climb, until at last you arrive at the heart of the circular complex. Here, The structures are shaped not like homes or markets, but like temples or perhaps laboratories. Each building is crowned with a dome that glitters like obsidian glass, its surface rippling faintly as though alive. Inside the nearest dome, the air changes. It's cooler, sharper, tinged with a metallic scent that pricks your senses awake. You step onto a polished floor that mirrors the inner sun, reflecting the golden light in dizzying patterns. In the center of the chamber, a pool of liquid silver ripples, though no breeze stirs it. Above the pool, a holographic projection, if you can even call it, that flickers into being. Images twist and reform. Star maps, planetary orbits, spirals of galaxies. You recognize some constellations, but others are foreign, their shapes strange and wrong, as if charted from a perspective no human telescope has ever reached. You blink. Well, NASA's definitely slacking. One of the beings raises a hand, and the projection shifts. Now you see Earth not as you know it, but sliced open, revealing a hollow interior glowing with its own sun. The projection zooms in, showing tunnels that spiral from surface to core, networks branching like veins. Dots of light flicker at key junctions. Cities, perhaps. Settlements. Your stomach flips. It's not just this city. There are many. You recall a mainstream fact in the 19th century. John Cleve's Sims J.R.B. famously argued that Earth was hollow, with openings at the poles leading to inner worlds. His theory was dismissed as pseudoscience, but he gathered thousands of supporters. Historians still argue whether his ideas were born from genuine conviction or just eccentric obsession. Looking at this projection, you think maybe Sims was closer to the truth than anyone dared admit. The beings watch you absorb the vision. They don't rush. They don't speak. They simply let you feel the weight of revelation. Then the image changes again, shifting from maps to memories. You see ships on stormy seas, swallowed whole by whirlpools of light. You see caravans vanishing into mountains, never emerging. You see men in Victorian suits, lanterns in hand, stumbling into caverns lit by a faint golden glow, just like you did. And then you see yourself. Not a memory, but a reflection. The projection shows you standing in this very chamber, wide-eyed, trembling, a small surface dweller surrounded by giants. You swallow hard, muttering, "Okay, that's cheating." The vision collapses, leaving only the silver pool, calm and unbroken. You step back, shaken. A quirky tidbit flits through your rattled mind. The Hopi people told stories of ant people who lived underground and sheltered humans during great cataclysms. Some say the tales are pure mythology. Others whisper they're half-remembered truths of ancient contact. The beings here, they could easily play the role of such guardians or jailers. Your guides lead you onward into another dome. Here, the walls pulse with veins of light, converging around a platform where several beings sit in silence. Their eyes are closed, their hands resting on their knees, glowing symbols hovering above their palms. The air is thick, vibrating with an unseen force. You feel it pressing against your skin, slipping into your mind. Not invasive, but undeniably present. It dawns on you. This isn't worship. It's communication. Not with each other. They don't need words, but with something larger. The inner sun, the obelisks, or perhaps the earth itself. You shiver, whispering, Meditation 2.0. One of the seated beings slowly opens its eyes, luminous and ancient. It studies you, not with hostility, but with a depth that makes you feel like every memory, every secret you've ever carried is suddenly laid bare. You can't hold the gaze for long. You look down at your hands, then back at the glowing veins crawling across the walls. This place isn't just a city. It's a machine, a memory, a sanctuary, and maybe even a living entity. And for the first time, you wonder if you were meant to find it, or if it allowed you to. The chamber exhales around you, a quiet pulse of light threading through the walls as if the stone itself has a heartbeat. The seated figures close their eyes again, retreating back into the deep current of silence. Your escorts guide you away, and you are relieved. The weight of those luminous eyes left you feeling like a bug under a microscope. Outside, the air feels warmer, lighter, almost as though the city is rewarding you for surviving that encounter. You trail after the beings down a wide boulevard lined with towering spires. Unlike the domes you saw earlier, these spires are narrow and tall, tapering into delicate points that shimmer against the glow of the inner sun. They remind you of cathedrals, but stripped of stained glass and ornament, only light and symmetry remain. The sound of water reaches your ears before you see it. At the boulevard's end, a waterfall pours from the stone ceiling, cascading into a pool that glows faintly from within. Mist drifts in golden sheets, curling through the air like incense smoke. It's beautiful, too beautiful, and your mind, desperate for some kind of grip, blurts the first thing it can. Great, even your plumbing is better than ours. The closest being glances sideways, eyes gleaming, and though you can't read their face, you swear they almost smirk. At the pool's edge, you kneel. The water is clear, but when you dip your fingers in, it clings like silk, refusing to drip away. It shimmers faintly on your skin, leaving trails of light that fade after a few seconds. You whisper, liquid glow sticks, neat. But the beings are serious now. One kneels beside you and gestures toward the pool. Their expression shifts. This isn't just water. It's sacred, or at least significant. You hesitate, then cup your hands and sip. The taste is unlike anything you've known, cool, but not cold. Refreshing, but carrying a faint metallic tang, like the aftertaste of lightning. Almost immediately, you feel it clarity, sharp and crystalline, surging through your thoughts. Your limbs lighten, your exhaustion melting as though you'd just awoken from a perfect night's sleep. You gasp softly, oh wow, Red Bull, but divine. A mainstream historical fact surfaces. Roman aqueducts carried water across vast distances. Engineering marvels that sustained entire cities. Historians still argue whether the lead pipes also poisoned Roman elites, hastening their empire's decline. You glance down at the shimmering pool and think, no, this water doesn't poison. This water empowers. And then the visions hit. Not as chaotic as the obelisks. Not as overwhelming as the memory orbs, clearer, sharper. Almost like the pool itself wants you to understand. You see ancient migrations. People fleeing storms on the surface. Guided into caverns by tall beings with luminous eyes. You see great floods, oceans rising. Continents splitting, and those same beings building cities beneath the earth, where catastrophe could never touch them. A quirky tidbit sneaks into the stream of images. In the Middle Ages, some monks insisted paradise was hidden inside the earth, accessible only to the pure. Their claims were dismissed as metaphor, allegory, or simple madness. Watching these visions, you wonder if the monks weren't so much mad as misinformed. They had pieces of the truth, but no map. The vision ends with a startling image, a sphere of darkness, churning, locked beneath the inner sun like a prisoner in chains. The beings encircle it, their hands raised, light pouring from their palms to keep the dark contained. You don't understand what it is, but the sense is clear, it's dangerous. Dangerous enough that even they fear it. You jerk back from the pool, gasping. The water ripples, its glow softening. Your escorts said nothing, but their silence tells you everything. You weren't meant to see that. Not yet. Historians still argue whether myths of the underworld Hades, Hell, Zibelba were just allegories for death. But standing here, heart hammering in your chest, you can't shake the suspicion that those stories were warnings. Maybe the ancients glimpsed something real, something lurking down here, sealed away by those who could handle it. One of the beings reaches out, resting a hand lightly on your shoulder. The gesture is calm, almost reassuring, but the message is clear. You've drunk from their pool. You've seen their truth, and now you carry it. The path ahead gleams with golden light, twisting deeper into the city. You know where it leads, not just to knowledge, not just to awe, but to answers you might not be ready to hear. Still, you follow, because how could you not? The golden path narrows as you follow your escorts deeper into the heart of the city. The hum of life around you fades, the farmers' songs, the marketplace chatter. The chants around the obelisks all melt into silence, until only the soft pad of your footsteps remains. The air thickens again, warmer, almost electric, carrying the faint scent of ozone. You emerge into a cavern so vast it swallows the mind. The ceiling arches high above, studded with crystals that catch the glow of the inner sun and scatter it in 1,000 shards. And in the center, rising like the spine of the earth itself, is a pillar colossal, endless, its surface carved with spirals of light that climb higher than your eyes can follow. It hums, steady and deep, vibrating in your chest like a second heartbeat. The beings halt, gesturing toward the pillar. You whisper, "Okay?" That's either your Wi-Fi router or your god. For the first time since you've met them, one of the escorts laughs or something close to it. A low, melodic sound, half breath, half music. It doesn't mock you. It welcomes you. Somehow, that single sound reassures you more than all their silent stares combined. As you step closer to the pillar, you realize it isn't just stone. It's alive, or at least infused with something alive. Veins of light ripple beneath its surface, and as you near, they pulse faster, like a heartbeat sinking to your presence. You stretch out a trembling hand, then pull back at the last second. Touching the obelisk nearly scrambled your mind. What would this do? The beings place their palms against the pillar without hesitation. One gestures again, urging you to do the same. Your throat tightens. Right, because the last time this went so smoothly. Still, curiosity trumps fear. It always does. You press your hand to the surface. The world vanishes. Not in a blur, not in chaos, just gone. You're suspended in light, weightless, soundless, as if floating inside the inner sun itself. Then voices, countless voices, whisper in harmony. They don't speak words, but somehow you understand. They show you the beginning, the earth, molten and raw, shaping itself into layers. Life crawling across the surface, fragile, brief, and deeper down, in hidden caverns. Something else, not life as you know it, but consciousness. A presence that formed in the dark, growing alongside the planet, as much a part of Earth as the mantle or the seas. The voices whisper, "We were born with her. We are her memory." A mainstream fact pops unbidden into your head. The Gaia hypothesis, proposed in the 1970s, which argued Earth functions as a single living organism, self-regulating to support life. Scientists still debate whether it's science or philosophy. But right now, immersed in light and whispers, it feels less like a hypothesis and more like a confession. The visions shift. You see surface civilizations rise and fall, pyramids piercing the sky, empires spreading like fire, then crumbling to dust. And always the beings below, watching, remembering, preserving, sometimes guiding, sometimes retreating. You see them offering refuge during cataclysms, then sealing their doors when surface humanity grew too greedy, too violent. A quirky tidbit sneaks into the stream, the legend of Shambhala, a hidden kingdom of wisdom. Beneath the mountains of Tibet, mystics swore it was real, a place of enlightened rulers guiding the world in secret. Scholars dismissed it as allegory. But here, bathed in memory, you can't help but think Shambhala was just another name for this. The light grows darker now. Shadows swirl, cold and heavy, coiling like smoke. You see battles, bright beings, wielding rivers of light against monstrous forms, writhing out of the deep. Not myths, not metaphors, real conflicts, fought in silence beneath your feet while the surface went about its wars. Oblivious, the voices whisper again. The dark sleeps, but not forever. The chains weaken. You, surface child, must know. Your chest tightens. You want to look away, but there's nowhere to look. The shadows swell until they blot out everything, then snap away like a flame extinguished. You're back in the cavern, gasping, your hand still pressed against the pillar. The beings remove theirs calmly, their faces unreadable. They've lived with this truth all their lives. For you, it's brand new, and it feels like a weight pressing down, heavier than the miles of rock above your head. Historians still argue whether myths of apocalypse, Ragnarok, Kali Yuga, the end times were simply symbolic cycles. But now, you wonder if they're echoes of the same memory, passed down in fragments by those who glimpsed the dark beneath. The tallest being finally speaks, words low and resonant, but clear enough to twist through your mind. You have seen. You must choose. Your voice shakes as you whisper, choose what? They don't answer. Instead, they step aside, revealing a passage that descends even deeper, its entrance glowing faintly. Whatever lies ahead, it isn't just knowledge, it's purpose. The passage yawns before you, glowing faintly with the same golden hue that has followed you since the ruins. The beings step aside, their tall frames silhouetted against the shimmer. Their eyes fix on you, steady and unblinking, as if to say, this is yours to walk, not ours to push. You swallow hard. Every nerve in your body screams to turn back, to retreat to the surface where things are simple day and night, rain and sun, no glowing pillars demanding cosmic choices. But your feet betray you again. You take a step, then another, descending the spiraling path. The tunnel hums with energy, but it's softer here, more intimate, like the hush of a cathedral at midnight. The walls are smooth, pulsing faintly as though alive. The air grows warmer with each step, heavy with a scent you can't place, sweet, metallic, ancient. At the tunnel's end, you stumble into a chamber unlike any other you've seen. It's smaller, almost cozy, yet its presence dwarfs you more than the grandest spire. In the center hovers a sphere of light, no larger than a wagon wheel. Not the inner sun, but something denser, more concentrated, pulsing with every color you can imagine and some you can't. The beings stop at the threshold. None enter. One raises a hand in solemn gesture, then lowers their gaze. This chamber is for you alone. You edge closer, heart hammering. The sphere hums, and as you near, you feel your thoughts peel open like pages in a book. Memories you thought long buried rise, childhood fears, moments of joy, mistakes you never admitted aloud. The sphere reflects them all. flickering with colors that shift in rhythm with your emotions. You whisper, "Okay, therapy ball. Didn't see this coming." But it isn't just reflecting, it's listening. The hum deepens, curling through your chest. And then, like a voice woven from silence, it speaks inside your mind. "Do you see us?" You stagger, gripping your temples. The voice isn't one but many, layered in harmony. You manage a shaky thought. "Yes, I see you." The sphere pulses brighter. We are the memory, the keeper, the chain. You carry the surface within you. We carry the depth. Together, we hold the balance. The visions come again, but gentler now. You see the inner sun cradled in its shell, burning eternally. You see the dark mass chained beneath, restless, waiting. You see the luminous beings standing guard, century after century, knowing the surface above lives in ignorance. The voice continues. Your kind forgets. We cannot, yet forgetting is mercy. Remembering is burden. Which do you choose? Your mouth goes dry. This is the choice the tall being meant. Not life or death, not entrance or exile, but memory itself. Do you return to the surface, forgetting what you've seen, living in blissful ignorance? Or do you carry it back, etched into your bones, a weight you'll never escape? Historians still argue whether knowledge is always worth its price. Oppenheimer quoted the Bhagavad Gita after the atomic bomb. "Now I am become death, destroyer of worlds." Knowledge gave humanity power, but not wisdom. Standing here, you wonder if you're staring at the same dilemma, only deeper. A quirky tidbit drifts through your racing thoughts. Some shamans claimed visions, granted by sacred plants, weren't hallucinations, but glimpses into real, hidden worlds. Skeptics laugh. You don't laugh now. This sphere is no plant, no trick of chemistry. It's truth. The hum grows softer, coaxing. Forget and live light. Remember and carry weight. Your hands tremble for a heartbeat. You almost step back, ready to forget, ready to trade the burden for peace. But then you remember the dark sphere chained below, writhing in silence. If it stirs, if it breaks free, who will warn the surface? Who will tell the stories no one else dares? You draw a slow breath, straighten your shoulders, and whisper, "I'll remember." The chamber answers in light. The sphere flares, flooding your vision, and when it dims, you feel it etched into you, woven into your veins like fire. The weight is there, yes, but so is clarity. The voices fade, leaving behind only silence. Your escorts step forward now, nodding once. No words, no gestures. Just the faintest acknowledgement that you've crossed a threshold few ever reach. You're no longer just a visitor. You're a carrier of memory. The path home rises before you, winding back toward the surface, toward stars and skies and storms. You walk it slowly, every step heavier, every breath more certain. And as the golden city fades behind you, you realize you'll never see the world the same way again. Now, the echoes soften. The glow of the inner sun drifts from your thoughts, fading like lanterns dimming at dawn. The tall beings, the humming obelisks, the river of light all dissolve into quiet shadows. You're left with the hush of stone, the steady rhythm of your own breathing, the familiar weight of your body sinking deeper into stillness. The burden of memory feels lighter here, wrapped in calm. The images you carried, ruins and rivers, markets and temples, laughter and silence settle gently, as though filing themselves neatly on the shelves of your mind. You don't need to replay them now. You can set them down for the night, knowing they'll wait for you when you're ready. The hum of the earth softens. becoming nothing more than the faint background throb you've always known. The secret civilization withdraws into silence, guarding its mysteries beneath layers of stone. While above, the surface world sleeps on, blissfully unaware. And you tired, warm, safe sink into that same sleep. The light of the inner sun fades to a glow, then to a flicker, then to nothing at all. The voices quiet, the visions blur. The story that pulled you into hidden valleys and endless caverns now folds shut like a book placed gently back on the shelf. All that remains is peace, so close your eyes. Let the weight slip from your shoulders. Let the warmth spread through your limbs. The hidden world will keep its secrets for now and you. You can rest, drifting down into dreams, calm and unburdened, sweet dreams.